Wow, wow, happy Friday. We're live streaming at Dan and Minnie's Journey. Well, today has not been the easiest day, nor has it been the easiest week that I can recall ever having. What about you? I try to keep the smiley face on, but some days it just ain't working. No matter how much Red Horse you drink or Emperador and Coke, sometimes it just doesn't work out. Megan is here. Helium, Anime Reyes in the house. RD Vlogs here. Yeah, I know. I think that a few people are going through this trying times. I think it has a lot to do with the strange weather that we're having. People told me, they said, oh, dry season. We're in dry season. Really? It's raining like crazy outside. And we only have a week or two left. And then Minnie and I, we are out of here. We're on the way to parts known and unknown. We're heading to LA to visit my mom. We got to go. We got to. Here's another reason why we're going, right? I'm just going to be straight up transparent with you. Refreshingly so. I don't have any secrets that I keep from you. But Yenarine, if you will give me a moment to explain. So here's what we got going on. What we got going on is we got to get to LA because passport. I'm on a Balikbayan privilege. And if you don't know what Balikbayan privilege is, that means that every year, once a year, I got to skate or I got to convert or extend my privilege over to a regular visitor's visa. Since we don't want to do that, we got to get out of the country once per year. Now, man, Minnie, she doesn't have that problem. All she has to do, yeah, she comes in Balikbayan, but all she has to do is show her Filipino passport. That's all she has to do. And she's home free. Rasa Shaney, she doesn't overstay because she's a citizen. You can't overstay your own country. She's a dual citizen. But me, I got to skate. Mel is here. Hi, Mel. Good to see you. Moelma in the house. Yes, we got to get on a plane. Now, I'm not talking about taking a short trip for 24 hours then coming back like most expats do. I would imagine most do. We're talking about heading back to California, where life all began. That's what we're talking about too. Nicole is here. Hello, Nicole. How are you? Nicole Hart's in the house. So 8 million people here so far. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about is we gotta get out of here. Dan does, but we're not gonna take the short hop. We're going, but I will tell you where we're going. We're going first. We're going Cebu. We're gonna spend probably 3 or 4 days there, and then we're gonna head for Manila to hang with the fellas, and we'll spend a week there, I believe, and then from Manila, Menge is here. Speaking of Manila, we're gonna spend a week there, and we're gonna spend Chinese New Year there, which is the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. Folks, jump in anytime you want. I do believe that Chinese New Year is on the 17th, but we have other things that we have to do in Manila. So then from there, we'll spend a week there. We'll probably travel around Pampanga a little bit. We'll probably see Tim Dziak if he wants to be seen. And then we'll head to Taipei on Cebu Pacific. Yeah, we're gonna chance it. we're gonna because flights are really expensive right now. You have to be very careful. You could certainly overspend on a trip like this. Easy. And so you will if you're going to go hop, skip, and a jump around like we are. So Viana Cañas is here. For example, we're going to go to Taipei. And because we have friends in Taipei, I know we have friends all over the world. It's amazing when you travel how you get friends, anyway. They multiply. They travel all over the world. They live everywhere. So we're going to visit a friend in Taipei for 3 or 4 days. And then we're jumping back on the plane and we're headed for LA, baby, but not LAX. Not LAX with the Black Star Hex. So no, we're not going in there. We're going into Ontario, California, which is about 30, somebody Google it for me. It's something like 30 or 40 miles east of LAX. So let's see, LA Airport is a little bit, it's south, I believe, a little bit south of downtown Los Angeles. I could be wrong about that. Then you have so many airports. You got Burbank. I wouldn't fly into Burbank. They're having too many near misses in there. I kind of would like to live as full of a life as possible. Full of what, Dan? Somebody said to me recently. Oh, I do hang around with a bunch of demented friends. Yes, that's right, Mel. That's LAX and the Black Star Hex. Yeah, they turn off the lights in LA late at night. Yeah. So instead, we go into Ontario International Airport. Not Ontario, Canada. It's Ontario, California, which is the same distance away from the mom's house from where I grew up as a kid, where my mom still lives. Lorraine Paris is here. Welcome in. Welcome in. Nice to see you. But is it closer? No, it's right in the middle, in between LAX and Ontario, but it's a lot less crazy. Maybe not. Actually, my friends tell me it's about the same these days because everybody's trying to do the same thing. They're trying to escape having to fly into LAX. So we get in there really late at night into Ontario. But how we get there is we fly into Seattle. And we have, I think, a 3-hour layover in Seattle. Then we hop on the plane and we jump down to the LA basin, the LA area. So that's how this thing is going to flow. So that's a lot of stops and layovers. That's a lot of takeoffs and landings. I do want to tell you that when you fly, you really want to minimize the amount of takeoffs and landing. And unfortunately, we haven't done that on this trip. Our itinerary for this particular trip has more takeoffs and landings in it than I have ever done in my entire life in going one direction from the Philippines, traveling east until you get to where you're supposed to go. That's a lot. That's a lot of planes. Cebu to Manila, Manila to Taipei, Taipei to Seattle, Seattle to Ontario. So to get home, I'm starting to sound like Lazy Larry, right? 4. It'll take 4 planes. That's 4 takeoffs and an equal number of landings. Hopefully, they match. You like flying with a pilot that has an equal number of successful takeoffs as they do landings. That's important. 17 million people in here. And that's pretty much how it's going to go. And so you can imagine that while preparing for this, since the clock is ticking, right? Because we're coming up on February 1st. So there's a lot of stress. We're spending a lot of money on these tickets. Even we're flying low budget airlines. Still very expensive this time of year because of Easter and spring break coming up. Ed Denoy is here from Japan. Yeah, Japan. I wish I were in Japan. I wish Japan was one of our stops, but it's not. So not this time around anyway, but it will be one day. It will be. And then on the way back, Minnie wants to stop in Hong Kong and spend a few days there. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull it off. So I have one leg of the journey already planned out and paid for. Mike, married, how are you? But there's a lot of stress because we're in the home stretch of this house. And will it be done in the next 10 days? I am kind of doubting it, right? There are a lot of things that have to be dealt with. So let me explain one of them. One of them that came up today that Minnie is absolutely panicking about, right? But I'm not so much panicking about this, right? And that is that the roof. So the roof is Mike, the roof is 40 millimeter. Folks, you know what a 40 millimeter roof is like, right? And so it's not the Ruffles Have Ridges roof that you see on most Filipino houses. It's the panel roof, Mike, but it's 40 millimeter. And already people are telling me that they've been up there and they've seen the screws are coming loose, which means they never connected in the first place. So Minnie's panicking a little bit about that. And I try to explain Girly Senna what this was all about. I try to explain that the roof is probably the last thing we have to deal with before we head out the door. Tim is here. Nanang Sexy in the house. Hi, Nanang. I think it's been a few live streams since I've seen you. But anyway, it's good. Welcome in. Girly Senna, thanks for sharing it out. Tim is here. All is right in the world. So here's the whole thing, right? When all is said and done, right? Somebody has to climb up there. But fortunately or unfortunately, you got to wait until it stops raining. And it does not want to stop raining in the Philippines. As a matter of fact, the weather has been unusually cool. So much so that it's scaring me a little bit. I mean, it takes a lot to ruffle my feathers, but I got to tell you, is that where you're at, Ed? You're in Hiroshima? That'd be great. We will check in with you. Of course, Hiroshima is one of the places we want to go. And so anyway, it's a 40 millimeter roof. And the plan with that is, I should have brought some samples of it, but I bought those locking caps that you see online at Shopee, the little caps. And since we have a blue roof, you put a little Sure Seal in there, and then you put the cap over the top of the screw, the penetrations, and it seals it up. But that isn't going to do any good if you have some screws that never made contact on onto the frame, onto the metal frame. So the whole plan is we have to go up there and we have to do that. We have to seal this thing properly because we don't want to destroy anything just yet. We want to get 10 or 15 years out of this roof. And so I've been reading a lot about it, and they're saying that there's a way to do it, that we could seal this up. Davies Paint has a product, and there are other paint manufacturers that have a product. It's like a coating, right, that protects your roof from the sun, from the rain, and it seals the whole thing up. I would imagine this is not an inexpensive product. It's going to take a few, gallons of paint. What do you guys go by here? Liters of paint? 4-liter paint bucket. 4 liters, the big one, right? Yeah, it's going to take some buckets of that plastic paint. It's not plastic paint. It's like rubberized paint. It's a rubberized paint that you just roll it on, right? You roll it on and it seals that roof. But before you do that, you have to do all the other stuff. You have to go up there and make sure you got a tied down roof. So it's been raining. And so tomorrow we got to go gather up all the tarps that we can find. And we got to make sure that we got a roof that isn't going to leak, especially if Minnie and we have to escape for a month, going wherever we're going off to, California, both LA and Sacramento. And then after spending a week there with my mom in LA, by the way, to finish the story off, then we're taking off to Sacramento. Now, California, I don't know if you know it or not, but it's a really big place to get from point A to point B. It's a nightmare. You're going to be on the road all day. It's going to be like trying to get from Bye Bye Leyte to Manila. It's going to take 24 hours to get from the southern part of the state all the way to the northern part. Not really. I'm exaggerating. If you pace yourself, it's more like an 8-hour ride or drive. But I don't drive anymore, which means you got to take a train or a bus, or you got to get a ride share that's going north all the way. This can be extremely challenging if you wait for the last moment. So instead of that, Ed Denoy, instead of doing all that, we spend that 4 or 5 days with my mom in LA, in the suburbs there. We head back to Ontario Airport, and we fly out of Ontario Airport into Sacramento. Flight time 1.5 hours. Now, logistically, I'm depending on a lot of people to make this whole thing work, right? In other words, we got a couple of YouTube subscriber friends that are helping us out. You guys have probably seen on the videos, Mike, Hey Joe, Buena Vista Dreamin', and his lovely wife, Cora, that are moving here. As a matter of fact, their house probably is already listed for sale in the Bay Area, in that San Francisco Bay Area. Mike and Cora, they're delightful people. They're the most giving, generous folks I've ever met. And so of course, I should say, because they are a team, if I've ever seen one. They mesh well together. I don't know if they do everything together, but that part anyway. Decision making, is solid. And as far as that goes, they're always they seem like they're always on the same wavelength, or they're easily able to convince someone to go along with their program. So anyway, Mike's saying, let me take a break from the story for a second. Oh, it's because of the colder air from the north of Russia and Canada and the USA. Lots of snow, colder weather in the Philippines causing rain. It's really messing up our deal. And it's messing us up. Diosa, big time it's messing us up. You know what I'm talking about, Marie? So anyway, it's creating a lot of stress, as you can imagine. There's nothing we could do about it, but I can do that. I'm going to retract that. It's not that there isn't anything that we can do about it, but we're limited to a certain degree. Then I realized that, I know what we need to do in case we have to leave without finishing the roof and the ceiling of it. We've got to tarp it. We've got to go get some tarp, the good quality stuff, not the cheap stuff. It's well worth the investment to make sure that it doesn't rain on my Duraflex or HardyFlex ceiling. I don't want any damage inside the house. I don't want to have to see any when we get back. But another problem is it prevents us from finishing the outside of the house. We're doing the best we can. I have a plan for tomorrow. Some of the places that we're working are underneath the eaves because they're taking the HardyFlex and they're sealing up the roof line. But there's still a lot of stuff we have to do. We have to make our own, what do they call them? Our own eaves vents, they call them, or roof vents. We have to make those. I bought some screen. I have to go down to City Hardware to see if I could find some plastic furring material so I can make our own. I could do that while they're doing everything else tomorrow. Tomorrow, we have guys coming in on Saturday and Sunday who are serious about wanting to finish off the porch and as much of the Hardy Flex this weekend and next weekend as they possibly can. A crew of 2 are only going to be coming in on Saturdays and Sundays. And then we have to jet out of here, and then we have to leave the rest to gel. So it's quite possible that the finishing crew are going to go on hiatus for a while. They're going to be having to wait until the Hardy Flex is ready to go. And then we're working on the kitchen. I'm going to do an update on that on Saturday or Sunday, so you can see what the kitchen is looking like. Now this is totally a Filipino kitchen. So all those of you that were expecting some kind of modern Western kitchen, that ain't what this house is all about. Oh, it works well. You used it, Ed. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks. That gives me confidence. So, and it'll preserve that roof. You know, the reason why we didn't go with the real expensive heavy-duty metal roof is because it's sloping at an angle. The water is going swoosh. But then I started to realize, well, certain parts of that, the tail end where the gutters are going to go, probably are going to get the bulk of the runoff, the water runoff, and that would create a problem. Your roof line would start to deteriorate at that point, you know. And so I don't know, here we have a 50 millimeter and it's worked out just fine, but it does leak. So if this thing works over there, but see, here's the other thing, Ed, that I want to say. There's no elevation, there's no detail. The roof, only a small part of it, I would say 5 or 10%, is visible from the front of the house. So you look at it from any angle, because it's a sloping roof, you don't see the roof line unless you're in a helicopter. You'll see the porch roof. So that definitely has to be perfect. But other than that, you won't see anything. So you can do whatever you want on top of the roof, and you know, because there's nothing to see here. So it could be white, it could be red, it could be yellow. That's why I didn't sweat when we bought the blue roof, when we actually wanted white to reflect the sunlight. But putting that rubberized coating on it will take care of this problem, Ed. It's going to take care of the incoming solar radiation. It's going to take care of the rust problem, so we won't have a premature rusting of the roof, those types of things. And then when the time comes 10 years from now when we have to replace it, I ain't taking the old one down. I'm just going to slap on a new one right over the top of it, the way we do out west. Why bother? I'll put another 40 millimeter roof on the top, making sure that I've got a nice rubberized surface in between that I could rely upon to hold everything in place. Do I think it's going to work? Yeah, I do. I think it's going to work. Don't you? We'll have to wait and see, but we have to tarp it up. Minnie is saying parts of it are already damaged. I can't see it, you know. I can't see, but I don't know if she's talking about the actual metal from somebody stepping on it, or if she's talking about something else like the framing underneath it. You know, so we're going to have to see what that's all about. What were we going to talk about today other than that? Yeah, it's 6 hours. That's right. I've done that ride a few times. Anaheim, California to Sacramento. But you have to be pretty steady Eddie, though. You know. Oh, by the way. Oh my gosh, Steady Eddie, or Fast Eddie Travels. May he rest in peace. I really enjoyed that guy. I really enjoyed his show. And in my opinion, you know, he's a YouTuber that he went way ahead of his time. You know, he should have been allowed to entertain us for 20 more years. But Eddie made a quick exit. You know, once he got that Yes, it was. It was a brain tumor. And while we're talking about brain tumors, I want to shout out. They haven't posted in a long time, and that can't possibly be great news. But Adam and Jane's lifestyle in the Philippines. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for Adam. You know, he had surgery. He had brain surgery on that brain tumor. You know, what do you think it is? Do you guys think it's the water? What do you think causes that? We're having brain tumors show up all over the place, you know? I don't know how it starts. Somebody said they start getting eyesight trouble, and then next thing you know, you got you get headaches, and then next thing you know, you're going to get checked up, and the doc's saying to you, CT scan shows a brain tumor. So I miss Fast Eddie Travels, and Adam I haven't seen in we haven't seen a video from Adam in 2 months. He lives up the street. You know, he lives in Ormoc City, and I really don't want to impose. You know, I don't want to go knocking on the door of their $1 million home and say, "Hey, is Adam home?" You know, no, that, no. I want them. They're not posting, so that kind of means that kind of sends me a message that things may not be going so well. Yes, I don't usually stress like this, you know, but when others around me, you know, I start picking up the vibe. And also we're getting bombarded. I don't know if you guys believe this or not. I've talked about it before. We're getting bombarded with you know, we're at solar maximum right now, and they've never seen solar storms like this before. We've had so much cosmic strange stuff happening. It makes me think that any day now, we're gonna get a visit from somebody. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you gotta maintain it, right? You gotta maintain it. I'm fine with having to deal with it. I really am. Gives me a chance to, you know, you to use this a little bit. Come up with ideas. Lainey is here. Hello, Lainey. I do enjoy your videos, you know, where you're working out. It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely friggin' amazing. Very impressive. Yen Arena's here. How are you, Yen? Tim is saying, I did price comparisons for flights for Clark to Seattle on Starlux. Well, well, Starlux, you know, that's not bad for business class round trip. Yeah, that is not bad. That is actually quite affordable, I would say. You know, but Starlux was out of my price range this time around. And so we'll be flying the other Taiwan airline, right? The green plane, the daddy. So Starlux is the son, and the daddy is the one that started the green plane airline. Yeah, white rubberized coating is what I'm looking for. You know, it'll cool off. The energy cost will go down. That's what I'm looking for. No, I have no plans of doing solar panels or anything like that. I don't know why people do that. You know, give me a couple of generators, you know, and I'm happy. That's what we got. As a matter of fact, they just installed the throw switch for the generator. Yeah, that's what it's called, right? Elastometric paint. Yeah, that's what we're going to use. We're going to use it. We're going to pour it on there thick. We're going to put a rubberized roof on there. You can't slide off. You won't be able to if you're wearing rubber tennis shoes. Yeah, there's some benefits. There's some benefits to it. Absolutely. There's Marie Jinx. Shalom. Shalom. And Mengay is hanging in there with us. I'm behind in the chat as usual. Pressy Manzanero in the house. Pressy, haven't heard much from you lately. I see you hanging around. I see you hanging around. Though, Let's see. Day of the tariffs. Tariffs. They're probably the day of the tariffs are probably numbered. I'm not sure how that's going to go. How come they haven't? How come they're delaying the decision on that, or are they delaying it? Am I just paranoid as usual? Because I'm a fan of the terrorists. I'm not a fan of the man. Yeah, I'm not a fan of anyone. I'm more of an idea guy, right? I like certain ideas. Oh, so I just filed my tax return. Okay, here's the other thing I want to talk about before we talk about the stuff on immigration and aliens. I want to talk to you a little bit about as it relates to both the Philippines and the USA. Yeah, paranoid. Pinky Gray is here, member for 22 months. Pink, a pleasure. A pleasure. You certainly do post some interesting stuff, I will admit. Pink is here. Pink certainly does post some interesting stuff on her channel. So you'll never be bored. You'll never be bored. Go check out Pinky Gray's channel. We've been friends for 5 or 6 years now, I believe. Yeah, Pink started it all for me. Pink was my inspiration. Yeah, she certainly was. From Isabella in the north. She says she misses everyone. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about PMing you today. No, that's not premenstrual cycle, no. PMing means I was going to private message you to get some details on what you're dealing with. It's okay. We'll chat later. So anyway, what was I going to talk about next? Oh, taxes. Yeah, taxes. I did my taxes. Where she says, "What? You're my inspiration too, sir." What? What? My little micro channel. You have millions and millions and millions of views. It's amazing. But will we be going back that way again? I don't think so. You know why, Pink? Sometimes I think so. Sometimes I think that as this AI thing takes hold, it's going to drive a lot of people from either being at home with no job or being at home and their job is viewing YouTube videos all day and live streams. So I don't know how it's going to turn out. The future is yet to be written on that point. But I think that it's going to be a challenging next few years. The thing about YouTube is simply that when you have millions of people signing up every year with a YouTube channel, you are sharing the stage with everyone. You're sharing the stage, right? So during 2019 and 20, when the global lockdown was happening, you had no choice but to sit at home and watch YouTube. Now you go off to school, you go off to work, you live your life, but how long will that last? See, that's the question, right? So, anywho, I did my taxes. We have a small refund coming thanks to this act and the fact that I'm an old fart, so I get that extra 6,000 exemption kicker. So that helped out a lot. So I actually went into my retirement account and I grabbed a whole bunch of money, but I grabbed a little bit too much for this year. And so it pinched me a little bit, but I still ended up getting a decent refund that I could use on to offset some of the cost of this trip. So I figure the whole trip is going to be 5,000 American dollars, something like that, for Minnie and I to head back to the States for a short visit. And I have to contact. I'm going to contact. I have to contact Knitban pretty soon. I think Knitban is in Thailand. Knitban in Thailand to see if he's got that room ready for us. That would certainly help out a lot. So you see, it's nice to have It's nice to have friends scattered about. Well, I wouldn't say he's scattered about. And Knit Band, he has nice digs. He has, actually, it's probably not. But I'm pretty cheap. I'm pretty cheap, and I'm looking for the best deal. And so, it'd be nice if I could mooch off a few other people. Mike and Cora already said that I can mooch off of them. So we'll be doing that. But I think that really is, of course, that's what traveling around and meeting people is all about. I don't know if you know this, but it's its own clique. It's got its own clique going on. In fact, as a matter of fact, any of you that wanted to come here and visit, we now have a place to put you up in free. If you guys want. Are you kidding me? That's that's the economy deal for Minnie and I, both of us, to go. 5K is for the whole trip, hotels, food, the whole thing. All right. So let me get to my main subject. I didn't know if you guys were interested in this. I started to realize that you guys are really a very intelligent group of people. There's certain things, like I'll be reading these articles and they'll start spewing garbage. I mean, they'll start presenting statistics. That's what I meant to say. They are interesting to me, and then I decide I want to share them with you, right? And so I want to share, really what I was going to talk about a little bit is how many Americans actually live in the Philippines and call the Philippines home. And the truth of the matter is, I wouldn't want to lie to you, it's close to 800,000 Americans that are living here in the Philippines that now call the Philippines home. You're getting a lot of ads, one right after another, just like me. So the last year that was reported, though, individuals. So let's see. Let's see. Immigrants and foreign residents make up such a small portion of the Filipino population. It's floating somewhere around 0.2% based on official data. While the Philippines has a high rate of immigration, Filipinos also moving abroad, the number of foreign nationals living in the country remains low relative to the total population of approximately 116.8 million people. The official count in 2020 census, which is probably not such a great year to do a census, but no, maybe it is because we were all at home. We all had to stay home. Maybe that's what the plan was. Ed Denoy is saying more Filipinos are living in Japan than in the Americans. So in 2020, census recorded approximately 78,396 immigrants and expats in the country, but we know it's much larger than that. I think it depends on how you ask the question in Google AI. The Bureau of Immigration reported that almost 154,000 foreign nationals are holders of immigrant and non-immigrant visas, and they participate in the mandatory annual reporting. Oh, that's a huge thing too. Annual reporting, which was a 13% increase from the previous year. So I just would like to point out, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again because it bugs me. American expats are not fleeing the Philippines. Only Geo is fleeing the Philippines. No one else is that I know. They're coming here. They're coming here in droves. Every day I meet somebody new. And a couple of old friends too. We were headed over to City Hardware today. We ran into an old friend who's just a wonderful guy. He's just a wonderful guy. And I believe he's Finnish, right? Or he's from, one of the neighboring countries. And so, yeah, because you're what? you're report free, right? You're retired. You have the retirement visa, SSRV, right? Am I right about that, Tim? Of course, I don't do annual reporting either. Well, permanent immigrants are few. Certain foreign ethnicities have notable presence in households. Among those are, how many guesses do you need? Chinese, 44.4%, Indian at 10.2%, and Americans at 6%. The Philippines has a negative net migration rate, which means more people are leaving than entering, losing approximately 150 to 160,000 people annually to migration or OFWs for work. By contrast, about 10% of the Filipino population, over 10 million people, live or work abroad as part of the global Filipino community, OFWs, and we like it because they pour money back into the Filipino economy. It's something that no other country has except maybe Mexico. Mexico has an excellent remittance, but I don't know if it beats the Philippines at all. Somebody is going to have to Google that for me. In contrast to the Philippines, this is something interesting. The U.S. has a significant higher proportion of immigrants. As of June 2025, foreign-born residents made up approximately 15.4% of the total U.S. population. Wow. But it represented a slight decrease from an all-time record high of 15.8%, which was reached a year ago or so in January of 2025. Approximately 51.9 million foreign-born individuals reside in the U.S. as of mid-2025. Woo! The current percentage is the highest than previous historical peak of 14.8%, which was hit in 1890. Immigrants have an even larger presence in the economy, accounting for about 90% of the total U.S. labor force. California has the highest share at 27.7%, while West Virginia has the lowest. Gee, I wonder why. Ed Denoy at 2.1%. Right? As far as legal status goes, Pressy, based on 2023 data from the Pew Research Center, 46% of immigrants are naturalized U.S. citizens. That would be Dan Minnie being one of them. What are the trends? In 2024, the number of people added through migration dropped to 1.3 million. I wonder why that happened. Yeah. But here's what's really interesting, right? Here's where the Filipino related stuff. Yeah, that is what we're here to talk about, right? This is what's so interesting about it. Individuals of Filipino descent or origin represent approximately 1.1 to 1.4% of the total U.S. population. The Filipino community in the U.S. can be broken down as follows. Approximately 4.4 to 4.6 million people in the U.S. identify as Filipino. About 2.1 million residents were born in the Philippines, and these immigrants make up 4% of the total foreign-born population in the U.S., making them the fourth largest national origin immigrant group. Holy smokes. That is very, very impressive. Don't you say? Don't you know? U.S. born versus foreign born. Unlike many other major Asian groups, more than half of the Filipino population in the U.S., 52 to 53%, are now U.S. born. Filipino immigrants have a high integration rate, 75% of those born in the Philippines are naturalized U.S. citizens. Party on. The community is heavily concentrated in California with 38%, 1.6 million people, and Hawaii. Can you believe it that California beat out Hawaii? Why would that be? High-tech jobs in the Silicon Valley? And then I'd go into the further economic impact, but of course it's significant for the Philippines because you're taking all that hard-earned money that you're making in the money belt of California there in San Jose and South San Francisco and the rest. What is it? Colma? What's the name of the town where it's a Filipino mayor and Filipino city council? Does anybody in here know or care? It's huge. You have your own community over there that is set up just like government here in the Philippines is. And so this is all good, right? This is all a good thing. Why I am bringing this up is because, the U.S. population is only growing through immigration alone. It's not because Americans, I'm talking about natural born citizens, are having children. Because I mentioned in one of my videos, I can't remember if it was a short video on Dan and Minnie's Journey channel or if it was one on the Dogmatic Dan channel, where the replacement birth rate is only 1.6 or 1.7% in the United States right now. We're talking about for natural born citizens. We're talking about white America. They are not having enough children to replace themselves because you need at least 2 to stay even, 2 children, not 1.6 or 7. Yeah, that 0.7 child would look a bit odd, I would imagine. Right? Or the ones holding us up are the immigrants coming in, and they are having children. So why is this important? Why is this important? Well, it's important to look at because here in the Philippines, you're going the same direction. I just would like to point that out. Now, you can't force people to have children who don't want to have children. You're being convinced not to because, oh, it's so expensive to have kids and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. How are you going to raise them? How are you going to take care of them? What is your financial means? Well, Japan is in one of the worst shapes, and Korea. It's terrible. As a matter of fact, and Thailand is pretty bad. China's ridiculously bad right now. Same thing in Russia. I mean, it's horrible. You can see it. If you go to California, you'll see a lot of the same thing. For example, that is probably if you migrate to California, one of the first things you notice is, dang, people are older here, 37. Right? Japan and Korea and Thailand, they're very, very similar in terms of age. I think Japan and someone Google this. I don't want to misspeak, but I think they're floating around the same age, right? Around 37. And so they're getting to the point where their childbearing years, more of the years are behind them than they are in front of them. And so that's spooky. And so right now, I believe the Filipino birth rate is somewhere around 2.1, maybe 2.2. So you're at replacement rate. But as I just explained to you, you aren't growing by immigration alone. You're losing more people that are being born. Are you following me? And so right now, the average age is something like 24, maybe 25. You could see it by just walking around. I don't really need the statistic to show me what's going on because I could see it. You're young, right? You're a young population. But if you don't start having kids, you will not be remaining younger. You'll fall in the same trap as America and China and Russia and Japan and Korea. And so who wants that? Who wants that? I encourage you to have children. What happened to the olden days? What happened to the days where people just wanted to stay home and procreate? What happened to those days, Lorraine? Talk to me about it. You can tell me that you've already made your contribution. I know there are a few of you in here that have nice families, you know. Anime, she may have met the quota. Anime is probably at the quota. So what ends up what ends up happening is that eventually you'll lose your culture. She's laughing at me. You end up losing part of your culture because the other folks that are coming in the country wanting to assimilate will take over because they'll beat you out in the birth rate numbers. That's pretty much what I'm talking about. That's what we're talking about here. And so the United States is doomed, but they have a few years to go. I think Japan is older, you know. I don't think they're ancient. I'm going to Google it right now. I got to know. Well, yeah, of course, you know that you have your diseases, but you would think that people would be procreating like rabbits during the 2020 lockdown, and it turns out statistically they were not. So what's up with that, I ask you? How come you weren't doing your job at home? You got Megan, Anime was. Oh my goodness gracious. No, I don't know if she was or not. I wasn't there. Let me talk about one more thing. Totally different subject. Totally different subject, right? To wrap things up on a positive note. Okay. So my son sends me the dad, you should talk about. Nobody's talking about this. He goes to being that it's like father like son, and he likes chocolate, right? He goes to the grocery store thinking he's going to pick up Hershey's chocolate bars and a few Hershey's Kisses, almond, like Tox likes, and discovers that these shelves are bare. They have no chocolate on them. So he Googles this, discovers that there's a chocolate shortage it's a global chocolate shortage. So of course, this prompted me to do that M&M's video, that short video. So I ran over to Save More. I discover that there is no shortage in the Philippines. I don't really know why. I don't know why they don't have a chocolate shortage going on here in the Philippines, except that the only thing that I could figure out is that they are curtailing the export of cacao, of the seed that chocolate is made from. That's the only thing that I could figure out, which is fine by me. Oh, here's an article real quick. Filipino cacao farmers, did I say that right? Are navigating the global shortage by capitalizing on record high farm gate prices while aggressively expanding local production to fill in the supply gap. So maybe their trees are producing and the rest of the world's are not. Farmers are seeing unprecedented returns. Some local buyers, like RO Chocolate, have increased their purchase prices for fermented beans to as much as $3.90 per kilo, up from $2.30 the previous year. Almost double. Not quite. I get excited when I see things like this. Wet bean prices have also jumped to pesos 100 per kilogram. Expansion of planting area. It says the Philippine Industry Council recently reviewed the 2026-2030 Cocoa Roadmap Partnership, which targets the establishment of 52,500 hectares of new cocoa land by 2030, which involves adding roughly 10,500 hectares annually to boost national output. Now, when this happens, when they react this way, doesn't that usually mean that they're setting themselves up for a price decline because everybody will overproduce? Everybody will start planting trees knowing that they can make money. And so they to make the industry globally competitive, farmers are aiming to triple production by 2026. A major focus is increasing the yield per tree from the current average of 0.5 to 1 kilogram to a target of 2 kilogram of dried beans per tree through modern farming techniques, and that reeks of Monsanto. Go do your homework on that. Is Monsanto here? And plus, it says farmers are adopting climate resilient practices like intercropping with coconut or banana trees to provide shade and extra income. The Department of Agriculture is also distributing improved disease resistant seedlings. Yes, modified seeds. Disease resistant seedlings from UC Davis, and building irrigation systems to combat extreme weather patterns like El Nino. So you see, the outputs geographically, well, Davao has to be number one in your mind because they're the rubber plantation and chocolate capital of the world, producing over 60% of the national output. Producing capital of the Philippines. But farmers in other regions like Bicol, Bataan, and Leyte, right here, Leyte, are being encouraged to expand their production to diversify the supply base. So we're smelling chocolate in the water is the way to say that. We're smelling chocolate in the water. Folks, thanks so much for being here. I had trouble also with my. Did anybody have trouble with their Gcash today? It's because I'm getting old. That's the main number one problem. And so I kept looking for the OTP number to get my next 90 days of participation in the Gcash system, and I couldn't find it. I thought it pops up on your screen. You hit the button that says send the OTP after you put your phone number in there, and it never popped up on my screen. I tried this 100 times. Then someone finally said, check your message app. So I go in and I check the message app, and sure enough, there were 100 messages, all with OTP codes. So, but Tim says Gcash was running slow today, and I caught that. I thought that it was, right? I thought it was running slow. And my last story, oh, wait, I do have one more story. This is very, very frustrating for me. All these mistakes were Dan's today, I'm telling you, including the weather. I take full responsibility for the weather. But here's the other thing. So I ran out of ink in the printer, and I got to print out all my tickets, itineraries, tax returns. I gotta print out all this stuff. You guys may find this to be humorous, maybe not, right? This is all my fault that this happened. But I'm getting my pencil and paper out here. What I ended up having, I ran out of ink, so that means I had to go to the imprenta shop, right? So I go over there. You know how you have to email your documents to the print shop, and then they print them out for you, and they charge you whatever it is, 5 pesos per page. Here's what happened, right? Their email address is very similar to 1,000 other email addresses with the same name. Easy Printing. Who would not want to name their business Easy Printing? Easy was taken. We're talking easy. Easy was also taken, the word. Easy E was taken with Easy E. And you guys get where this is going, right? My documents ended up in 100 print shops again across the country. I had to go and send emails to retrieve, and finally, I looked at the gal and I said, "Can't you rename your business Harry's? If you don't want to name it Harry's Print Shop, you should come up with with an acronym so that you don't end up using or sharing a similar name as everybody else. It's what makes you unique, and also documents won't end up all over town, which is what happened to me." And so, thankfully, I was able to retrieve everything. Joseph's here. Hi, Joseph. I was able to secure all the documents. So, and then finally directed them to the print shop that I was in, complaining. She kept saying, "Well, what is your problem?" I said, "My problem is that you guys think you came up with the greatest name since McDonald's, and you haven't. I could give you 100, 200, 1,000 suggestions." Exactly. Easy Print Shop would not give me confidence in your business. Pro Printing might, but not Easy Printing, you know? How about Pro Printing? You're professionals. Call it Pro. Why Easy? Everybody wants to use the same name. Someone said, "Well, Dan, that's very Filipino." That's very Filipino. So I learned a lesson today, but it's not over. No, it wasn't over. So once I was able to retrieve all the documents, right, and forward them to the correct email address, guess what happens? She prints out. You won't believe this. Where are they? I don't know where they're at. I thought they're in here somewhere. That lady, the clerk, prints out every single document. She prints out the same attachment a dozen times, right? And there were several attachments. And then she comes to me and she's got a stack like this. It's over here someplace. Oh, it kills me. It kills me. And then she gives me a bill. She says, "That'll be 1,250 pesos, sir." Whatever it was. And I'm looking at her. Now, the printer wasn't where I could see it. The printer was away from the counter. It was behind. I couldn't see the machine printing. I didn't know what she was doing. Right. And so my wife was like, she's looking like this. "Damn, I don't think you have to pay for those." Oh, but I do. I do, because the whole thing started. Because Dan, I wasn't paying as close of attention as I could. And you think I would be, because there's a lot of personal information in there. Right. So because I wasn't paying attention, what ends up happening? Everything ends up all over the place, and then they congregate in one email. And so you have all these attachments. And then by the time, and she was still printing when she brought them out. I said, wait, stop the presses. I didn't need multiple copies of the same documents. And so she starts looking through them and going, "They're all the same." I said, "Exactly. They're all the same." So I only needed 2 sets of documents here, plus my itineraries right here. That's all I needed, right? It would have been something like 100 pesos. Instead, I reached into my pocket and I said, I think that I think I need to take full responsibility for my own stupidity." But I wanted to blame the print shop. It really wasn't their fault. But in my frustration, I did say what I told you I said. It would be nice if you changed the name of your shop that distinguished it, from everybody else's. Well, we did, sir. We put an extra E on the name. Easy. Easy. So let me ask. I asked her. I said, so if easy wasn't available, would you have put another E on the end of that? Well, of course, sir, because we want it to be easy to do business with us. It was the silliest, damnedest thing. And I had plans. I was going to go to Shakey's. I was going to grab the gigantic pizza, right? And then after that, I was like, do you have a little tomato sauce to go with these copies? And then I went over. Then I said, okay, well, we need to go get our printer back. And that's a clue. That's God telling us, speaking of God, that's God telling us to go and get, that's God telling us to go and get printer ink, right? That's God telling us, go get printer ink. Yeah, there you are. Go get printer ink. And so we went over there to get printer ink to give you a lot of it, a lot of juice, right, in that bottle. So it cost another 650 pesos for that. And so today, like I said, it was a difficult day for Dan. But I made it through okay, thanks to you. Let's give 500 pesos away. How about we do that? And I'll feel a little bit better, I think, about what happened today. Let's see. Where do I go? Alien Nation. Live chat. Stand by. We're having technician issues. I'm going to put it over here in the chat. All right. When you see start appear over here in the chat next to our channel name, pick a number between 1 and 35. We're playing for 500 pesos. That I was able to get the Gcash working, so I was able to load. As soon as I put start in there, pick a number between 1 and 35. You only get one guess, and you may start as soon as you see that appear. Let me see. Did it show up yet? Oh, yeah. So you guys are doing good. 19 million people in the house. Thanks for hanging in there with me. It looks like everybody has had a chance to guess, including Gene, Mix Vlogs, Madeline Reyes. All right. I'm entering the stop command in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop. There it is. And now I'm making our selection here. Let's see if we have a winner first up. Let's see if we got one. Oh, nice number. Number 2. Number 2. There you go, number 2. Let's see if we got a winner with number 2. I will wait a couple seconds here. My goodness, I'm having so many things going on today. What? Yen won? Are you kidding me? Congratulations, Yen Irene. Yahoo! Yen's the winner. Yen is the winner. Wow, that's great. Yen, do I have your Gcash? I have all kind of crap on my desk right here. I can't make heads or tails of it. Can you private message me your Gcash number and I'll send that out ASAP? Congratulations. Let me see if Man Minnie is here to say hello or goodbye or hang on just a second. Man Minnie, are you here? Man Minnie. Hello. Hello. I hear nothing. They were on their way out the door when the show started. I'm not sure exactly where she was headed. Somewhere important. She said to say hi to everybody. I remember that. Just remembered that she said, "Oh, I'm probably not going to be there because I gotta run this errand." So, everybody, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll see you on the next live. Take care, everybody. Congratulations, Jen Irene. Bye bye.